I'm Max Taylor. I'm a national lead for games at dBs. My background is in game design and development primarily, working with like coding and building mechanics out in systems, but I've also done a lot of 3D artwork and obviously working with programmers. So initially I started by exploring creative media of all sorts. I did bits of films and bits of TV work. This is kind of all at college level. And it wasn't until I realised that, yeah, this was really fun and I liked it, but it wasn't what I was looking for. And before that point, I didn't know games was even an option. And then from there, spoke to some teachers, stepped into games, went into game design. And then not long after that, I got my first post lecturing. So that's kind of my first step into an industry. And then from there, just kind of working at it, just networking with people. So my work outside of dBs as national lead is primarily consulting on projects, so prototyping stages of games for companies that maybe don't have experience within that, or staff, and just kind of looking to me for how should we build this, how should we prep it, so when they go into their development, they kind of know what to look for, know who to bring in. Outside of that, I do a lot of work on my own independent projects and working with them, collaborating with loads of different people with different disciplines. So I've done a bit of work for Venture Studios, which recently put out their first kind of iteration of some Microsoft flight sim stuff they've been doing alongside some heritage work. I look at kind of everything as a problem, a way to solve things, or just kind of how can I implement sort of everyday mundane things and kind of turn them into games. So my specialism primarily I'd say is systems, so thinking about how all the mechanics within a game kind of work together. Recently I've really got interested in the narrative side of games and writing particularly, not just for games, kind of all media, but that kind of concept of building a story that keeps the player in the game, keeps them playing, and that's kind of my area at the minute that I'm focused on. So for me, I think my proudest moments would be one, making my first ever kind of game, which was just very boilerplate, very basic kind of tutorial following. But in terms of education, I think it's always been the students, seeing people that you meet on day one and maybe they're not very confident in their own skill set. And then within the first few months, they've really latched on to something they can do, or they've understood that actually this is possible, they can achieve these things, it is just a practice. And just watching them keep going above and beyond their own expectations, I think is the most proudest point for me. World building kind of in general it's really an exciting area because you get to kind of build these ideas from nothing, and it's all kind of connected in the way in which you put that together. It's letting students know that they can kind of go a bit beyond what they think is where they need to be, and that these ideas are theirs. And if you can bring it kind of together and connect it, whether it's through gameplay mechanics or the story itself, that's really impressive to do. And it's kind of getting them used to that idea that really it's up to their imagination. There is no limit with world building. I think that's the fun side of it. With world building, you just get the freedom to really make something your own. I think everybody that does games can find something within world building that they'll like, because it covers everything, not just the world itself, but like the sounds of that world, the way the people act in that world. So there's different parts that people can kind of latch onto and really run with. So I think the gaming industry right now is one of those that it's just growing, it keeps growing kind of all over the world. They're constantly looking for people with varying skill sets. And we found a lot recently that they don't have all the skills they would like. And as a uni, our job is to communicate with them and to find out what it is they're missing and what they don't have, and then connect those students to industry. To get into the industry is prime at the minute, because it keeps growing. There's new tech coming out all the time, just loads of opportunities there. Given that we are a bit more flexible in that, and that we can adapt and we can change kind of year by year, even semester by semester, it allows us to make sure that what we're delivering is catered to what the industry seek, and also what the student wants to do. That's obviously really important, and catering their kind of ideas towards what the industry needs. So when they're out there, they still get to do their specialisation, but they understand what that's expected of them on the industry side of things. So the thing I'm noticing in the game industry at the minute is obviously AI is on the rise. It's kind of everywhere. I don't think it's a negative thing. I want to make that clear, that I think that the use of AI can be really beneficial in the right hands and for the right purposes. So the way in which I prepare the students for AI within the game industry is really just exposing it to them frequently, letting them know what it can do, but also when you should be using it, when you shouldn't, and just being aware of those general considerations and concerns, and also what you're putting out to other people, letting them know if you have used AI for certain bits, making sure that's marked, and just generally being aware of it, that it's a tool, but it can also be a detriment to your own work. I think the biggest thing that I enjoy about working here and with the students is really, as I've said before, is seeing them progress, seeing them develop, but also building that relationship with myself and them, and kind of see them go from being very kind of offish, you know, the first year students, they're quite nervous about everything, to where they're at the second year, where we have a kind of dynamic with how we work. They know how I work, I know how they work, and it's a great relationship because it means that I can support them. We have discussions all the time about games. We get lost in it, and that's the best part for me is, yeah, everyone loves games and just being a part of that. So my advice for kind of getting into games in general, I've kind of got like 2 answers to this, and the first one is play games. It's a big part of making games. You should love the product and love the games that are out there, and be able to see the benefits of games that even you don't like is another big thing, and not just discrediting a genre that's not for you. Acknowledge what makes it good. But in terms of putting yourself forward, it's working within the software. Blender is free software, Unreal and Unity are free. Just get in there. There's tons of learning online that you can follow, and just experiment with it and see where you go. And it also means that when you go to like unis or even colleges, where you just speak with people, you have something to draw upon. And this level of it, the skill doesn't matter. It's about you trying is the really big thing when it comes to games. Is if you're experimenting with stuff, that's a big thing. It's throughout your time, you'll be adapting and changing. So starting that early and just getting used to software is a big part of it. It is difficult, it is stressful at times, it's a lot of work. But being that it has that element of you are making something interactive, it's like that people are going to see and play and have an experience with, that kind of does keep you driving it forward, and that maintains that fun. But there are obviously no illusions that it is difficult, and there is a lot of time that goes into it. Making a character is months of work as opposed to making the full game is years upon top of that. So it's just being aware of that, but also remembering that it is about fun. It's a big creative process, and it's just a laugh, really.